You're tuned into 9 to 5 Work Rebels with your host, Ebony Gale.
Hey everybody, and welcome to 9 to 5 Work Rebels. I am your host, Ebony Gale, an original 9 to 5 Work Rebel, as you all know. And as you know, this channel is all about your freedom seekers, those trying to seek a way for themselves outside of 9 to 5, doing their own thing, finding their own hustle. And I am excited to have with me today Miss Christine Ostrander, who is actually very big in the business of Amazon world. She has her own website called Mummy Income, where she helps to get others to learn how to create their Amazon business. She's an e-commerce expert. So she's also an author, entrepreneur. So this is a very good chat, and she works well for the 9 to 5 Work Rebel. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome. So I wanted to start off with you by asking you the main question, which is, of course, tell us about yourself and how you got started.
Well, I am Kristen Ostrander. I'm the owner and founder of mommyincome.com, where I teach people to start and grow businesses using Amazon and e-commerce. I got started basically when my husband and I were married very young, and we didn't want to be working opposite shifts. And so I had to have some way of earning income because I wanted to be able to stay home with my children. And I didn't want to be like, he works during the day, I work at night, and we don't see each other. We really wanted a family. And so because of that, I had to kind of create some sort of income from home. And rewind almost, it's been 18 years now, rewind that a little bit and realizing that at the time, the work from home opportunities tended to be direct sales, multi-level marketing, things like selling cosmetics or home and kitchen products, like from, door to door with your family. And that was just not going to work for me. And so I needed something else. So I started with e-commerce. I started selling on eBay and some Amazon, and really found a love for that. And so I really wanted, I started earning income from home and was able to build that up to where I could balance is kind of a myth, honestly, but I was able to stay home, work from home, and still be with my family in a way that really suited us. So that's just kind of a nutshell of how I got started with e-commerce.
E-commerce. And so just to quickly clarify, did you ever have a 9 to 5, or was you usually the smart one that was like, no, I don't want to go down that route?
Well, yes and no. I guess my 9 to 5 was really more of, I was waitressing. So it was more like a 5 to 9 or 5 to midnight. I had a job, but that was the problem, was that in order to make decent money, waitressing and things like that, you needed to work nights and weekends. And it was just not, I would say more of my 5 to 9 versus 9 to 5. But that whole lifestyle was just like, this is not for me. This is not something I want to have. So breaking that cycle really shortly, I think I maybe worked 6 months separate from my husband and my son before I realized, like, this is not going to work and I've got to figure something else out.
Right. You were quick off the mark with that, which is brilliant. I mean, not to knock it. It's not, 9 to 5 is for some people, but it's not for everyone. I think there's ways you can create your own happiness outside of it, which this channel is all about. So you are an entrepreneur, of course, you've got your different streams that you work on. So can you tell us a little bit about, how you actually got started in Amazon? Like, what led you down that road?
What led me down that road was, well, I first started with eBay because it was, years ago, it was a lot easier to kind of just start with eBay. The problem was, as I was selling some things around the house, that's how I got started. I was selling my children's clothes, those cute little outfits they wear maybe 1 or 2 times before they grow, and it's still brand new. So I started kind of selling those types of things and realizing that I really enjoyed the experience of being able to sell different products and kind of have control over how much I was earning. Because as I was listing products and things like that, I realized that, I could make a really decent amount of money here. I mean, talking about dollars for hours, no 9 to 5 was going to give me $300 to $500 a day for 4 or 5 hours worth of work. And so I kind of created my own income there and realized I could never, I was doing eBay temporarily, thinking I was going to get a job when my kids, kind of got a little bit older. But I realized that the sky was the limit in creating income for myself at home. So I liked the selling products. Some people, like sales, or they like digital marketing or these other things. I really just liked to sell products that people really wanted. So I got excited about different products, and eventually Amazon opened to third-party sellers, and at first they were a lot just books in their early days, but then started selling other things there as well. Started getting into wholesale and realizing how big this could really be, and so that's why I started there and then kind of stuck to it, because Amazon's a global marketplace, and how you can reach a global audience and global customers, rather than, I even considered opening my own shop and maybe having like a small boutique, but reaching customers globally really has allowed us to increase income in ways that I never thought was possible before, because of all the customers you can reach.
Yeah, and the scalability of it being online is immense. Like I always talk to, because I do a bit of coaching, so I talk to clients about that. I find it always interesting, those who want to have their own little boutiques versus going online. I'm a big advocate for online, because I'm just like, your scalability is just, huge, like you just basically indicated. And of course, you starting out selling baby products, and then now look at where you are now is really great, isn't it? It's a big leap. So what would you say in terms of your passive income streams at the moment? So obviously I know you do this. What would you say are your 3 top most profitable streams, or that you would recommend for people to look at?
So I have 2 businesses. One of them is our actual Amazon store where we sell our physical products. We've developed several different products. So we have what I would consider sub brands or sub companies that we sell products within that business. And then the second business you mentioned was Mommy Income. That's me teaching people to start and grow on Amazon. And so that's my second sort of stream of income there. So we've got the actual physical product store, then we've got our teaching business. And my other one is really just my public speaking and authoring of different things. So as I start to teach and grow, that's also a nice income stream as well, to be able to share your knowledge. I mean, knowledge is so valuable, and that's all digital distribution globally as well. So you don't necessarily put that cap on your scalability when you're teaching your knowledge. So I'm a big advocate for people teaching what they know to other people, and it's a really low startup cost as well. So that really helps people who have this idea to share information that they know, or teaching classes of some sort. So that's my favorite. And of course, my other one is just investments, as I've made investments into, different digital currencies and commodities, gold, silver, stocks, things like that. That is just the most passive income that comes in. I don't even have to do anything except keep making those little small deposits, and seeing all that kind of stuff rack up is really, really helpful. So those are my main and favorite income streams.
Oh, that's brilliant. And thank you for sharing that. And I think that's so important. I do believe that sharing information is key. I've seen on your website where you speak about you want to try and help 1 million people. That's a great ambition. Brilliant. How are you going? How's it going with that?
Well, I that's definitely a goal of mine, and my heart's passion. It's hard to measure it because, it's like, unless I have like 1 million students, which would be amazing. I help people every week on my podcast and on my YouTube channel. So it's hard to measure that, but at about 50,000 listeners or so per month, we're getting closer.
You're getting close. Exactly. So you're touching many lives, which is really, really good. And I'm sure at one point, did you think you would be here? Because I always think that's really interesting. You look back on your life and you think, okay, maybe when you just had your first child, and then fast forward to where you are now, you wouldn't necessarily always think you'd take this path.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't realize there was a teacher inside of me until I was becoming successful on Amazon, and I would share my knowledge in Facebook groups or different social media platforms. And then I was invited to kind of teach a segment on a live show. And that's where I really fell in love with my teaching, because I didn't realize that I was a teacher or could teach. And so as I had that experience, I was like, wow, I could really, teach a course or two and figure this stuff out. And, that's the funny thing is about these generations, that there's jobs out there that the next generation is going to have access to that don't even exist yet. Yeah. So this job, whatever this is, my business, really wasn't a thing 20 years ago. It just kind of became something. And so it's really awesome, the possibilities that are out there. If you have a computer and an internet service, you can create businesses. And I think It's an amazing opportunity that we live in.
I agree with that. I think you've got to have that plus some determination. Definitely some determination and some grit. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ups and downs and pass and fails when it comes to doing this. You should know with this podcast, it's about consistency, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting because you get people who are so excited about starting their own business, and I'm like, yeah, I'm always going home like, yay. But again, just like I'm sure you say on your podcast, it's just about managing that as well and knowing that you're not going to get £1 million tomorrow. You know, you watch these people and they're like, oh, I sold this product and then they've got this, and then everyone comes rushing in trying to do it all. But I feel like with Amazon, just like what you teach, so please do check out, Mommy Income, and she's got her courses on there, and she goes into things like workshops and bundling. And if you're interested in Amazon, it's definitely interesting to go and have a look at. There's one of the courses that I'm thinking about doing because I've been doing Amazon as well. So I think it's an interesting field. And I did it just as a more of a, let's see if this works kind of thing. Because, it was at one point, a good few years ago, the adverts just going on and on about, selling on Amazon, FBA courses and all this kind of stuff. I remember, because I'm a consultant, I remember just watching YouTube, watching all the adverts, I'm thinking, this is interesting. I always, got my hands in different pies. So I always like to see what else is going on. So I thought, let me just try it out for it and see how it works. And I did. I've done a little experiment, and I sold some bags and stuff, and I got it all done, white labeled it. And it was a great process. I really enjoyed it. So I understand your point when you spoke about, when you make your sales and the feeling that you get from that, which is really rewarding. So I think that's really important. But what I also think is important is the fact that it gives you the opportunity to take you out of the 9 to 5. So what are your thoughts on the sort of 9 to 5 culture, or for you it was sort of 5 to 9? And, the fact that a lot of people don't necessarily see that there is a life outside of that,
The insight there is that it is for everyone and it's not. So, when listeners and people, I'm thinking your listeners are really, they're wanting to get out of the 9 to 5, and that's why they're tuning in and listening to all these different ways that they can exit that. But being cautious that entrepreneurship, like we've just talked about already, is not for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who give up easily, because I think the benefits outweigh the pitfalls sometimes, but there are those days, like last week, I dealt with a lot of rejection. I put a lot of things out there. I pitched to a lot of different companies for different product lines and things like that. And I got like 90% no. And that's hard to deal with if you don't have that thick skin of really realizing that your dreams need to move on, whether or not people are on board with you or not. So they're either on board or they're not. And if they're not on board, your train has to keep moving. And some people feel like the first no that they get, the train stops and everyone has to get off because this is the end. When really you have to learn a little bit of how to deal with no. That's the part of that mindset that you're always talking about just really dialing into the fact that your dream is your own and you can make it possible, but you have to do it with or without whoever is jumping on board with you, because there's not everybody's going to be on board with you, and you have to be able to deal with the no's along with the yeses.
Absolutely agree with you on that. I think that's so important. And a key lesson, a key take home, listeners. So do put that in your wallet. So and what advice would you give someone who is looking to start their own business, their own e-commerce business? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of get the idea, they're like, yeah, let's just get in it. And then I spoke to people who are sort of gung-ho at the start. Then they start researching products and then they just change their mind and it's just all gone down. So what kind of advice do you give people?
Commitment. Number one, you need to commit for a certain period of time, because this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something we're just going to run 100-yard dash and we're going to be great and it's all going to be fine. It is not a get rich quick. Business is never get rich quick. Business isn't going to be, we're just going to pay the rent next month and it's all going to be great. No, business is a long-term game. And so you need to be in it. So if somebody's starting an e-commerce business, I ask them to consider committing for a year, and not just committing for a year, but committing to educating yourself, dedicating specific time, just like you're working towards any goal, whatever that is. Like, I'm going to spend X amount of hours on this per week because I'm going to try to make it work. People start, like you said, they're gung ho for the first couple of months. They're excited because it's new. But when the honeymoon phase wears off and they start getting rejection, or maybe they make some mistakes that cost them a little bit of money, people are like, oh, forget it. This just doesn't work. And there's a lot of people that prove that it does work. It just takes work. And some people just want the quick dollar and they don't really want to do working on a business. But if you set it up correctly and you commit to the process, it will pay you in the end. You just have to be committed to it and take small steps. You're not going to get from $0 to $1 million overnight. It took me 10 years. So take it, it's like some people are like, I don't have 10 years. I'm like, okay, but do you have 5? Because 10 years is going to go by.
It goes by anyway, isn't it? That's what I say all the time. And then if you're in a job, I used to find it really weird. I'd go, obviously I've come from kind of corporate background. I'd meet people and they'll be like, oh, I've been here for 25 years. You just think, what? But that the time flies. It really does fly. So you can do a lot with that time. And people think, oh, well, 10 years. Oh my gosh, it seems long. No, it's gone by quickly. I mean, with the pandemic, look how fast time has been moving with that even. So yeah, time really does. I think you're right in all the suggestions and the tips that you're giving there. It's so key about your mindset and being determined. Rejection is part of parcel. You're going to have your peaks and your troughs, as I always say. You're going to have your highs and your lows, but that's part of the business journey anyway. So just get on board and get ready for the sort of roller coaster ride, I always say. So what made you take your leap of faith? Because obviously I know you was waitressing and so your husband's working, got kids and stuff. So what was it? What was your kind of breaking, that's it, I'm just going to go for what I'm going to go for kind of thing?
Well, I kind of did both and for a time because I wanted to see if, first of all, I needed the income.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to be, I'm going to have to quit this and just have a leap of faith. The leap of faith was working hard during those months before I quit the job.
Yeah.
So before it was like, okay, I started selling on eBay and I started making a little bit of money and realizing that this is almost going to replace my job. Like if I continue this work pace. It wasn't easy. I had to do, instead of working I would go to work at 3 and get home at like 11.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that was like the shift I would do. So instead, I actually just hung out with the family. When the kids went to bed, I would work maybe from 8 until maybe midnight or something like that, just work 4 hours. But I was at home. I was comfortable. I could have conversations with my husband. I could get up with the baby if she needed to get. So I balanced that in a way that I was still working.
Yeah.
But then I wasn't working outside of the home. I was still making my own money. And I took the leap of faith to quit the job when I started making about half of what I was making working. So I thought, okay, if I can make half and I don't have to work anymore, I can make the other half. Yeah. So that was kind of my breaking point of leaving the job and coming back to, I can do working from home full time. And I haven't looked back since.
Well, that's brilliant. And how do you find juggling the family side of things? Because I talk to a lot of mummies. I'm a mummy as well. So I always like to get into, everyone has their own ways of working and getting their own sort of work-life balance. So you sound like you balanced it well, even in terms of during your transition phase.
Yes, I think that sometimes balance is a myth. I think sometimes you just have to prioritize some things over the other. I mean, like this particular week, for example, my middle child's graduating from high school. So we're very busy this week and she's got a graduation ceremony and things. So that's priority this week. But then next week, when all this hoopla is all done, I'm going to be working a little bit more. And my family understands that I've got to take some time and I've got, to work. My office is closed, my doors closed, don't come in. But when they were younger, when I really started all this, my favorite solution of time management really was my 15-minute hustle. And I created this 15-minute hustle because my son was like Curious George meets like Dennis the Menace. He was like so wild and crazy that I couldn't even get anything done when he was like awake because he was wild. But I usually had 10, maybe 15 minutes max before he was getting into some sort of mischief. So I made this master list of all the things that need to be done, both domestically and in my business. And what I did was I made this master list. And then every time, okay, maybe he was sitting down to watch a show or a little friend would come over and he'd be busy for a little bit, I would take something, 15 minutes and take something off that list and just do it. And by the end of the week, I had a lot of progress done in those short little burst 15-minute hustles. So that's in the book of explaining a little bit more about the details of how you set that up and how you do it. But that really gave me a lot of progress when we all think that we need this big block of time to do these big projects or different things, when really we can write an email in less than 15 minutes. We can ship a package in 15 minutes. We could fix a landing page. We can book a podcast guest. There's lots of things we can do in short amounts of time. And people think, I've got to have an 8-hour day. honestly, we just need to manage our tasks very quickly. Have a list. And as soon as you have a window of opportunity, instead of scrolling at Instagram, you're going to be just picking one thing off of your list to take care of. And by the end of the week, you'd be surprised at how many of those things are checked off that you got done in these small increments. So that's really how I built my business from scratch, really, with just 15-minute hustles.
Brilliant. And that goes, and you just mentioned your book, so please do plug it. Is it behind you? That behind you, right?
Yeah, that's what it is right there.
Dream big, step small. Okay, this sounds great. So do check that out as well. 9 to 5 Work Rebels. She's got some great tips in there about, taking the small steps to get your big dreams. Is what it sounds like, which is brilliant. Absolutely great. So, okay, what I wanted to ask you also is about what actually inspires you and what keeps you going.
What inspires me is really giving this opportunity to people. Specifically, I have a heart for single parents. I was raised by a single dad, and then single mom. So I employ a lot of single moms. I feel like it's it's just a tough road for single parents, and I want them to know that it's possible to be fully engaged with your children and be aware and be with them, and also have your own business and own income streams on your own flexible time. You do not have to be a slave to that 9 to 5 just to make ends meet, that there's possibilities out there. And what just inspires me is to present that opportunity to other people, to know that there is hope beyond that 9 to 5 that they have, and they can create something new and different for themselves and leave a legacy for their children in the meantime.
Absolutely agree with you on that. I think that's brilliant. And obviously I'm an advocate for that as well. So I think that's really important. And being a mum and knowing what it's like, I was raised by a single mum as well. And I feel like parents, we have this real split of guilt as well when we're raising our children. There's times when I couldn't be at, certain activities for my daughter when she was younger because I was at the job. Now I work for myself, it's different. She's a bit older now anyway, but I could make a lot more of it once I was working for myself. So those things are so important. And I think that not a lot of people realize that you can do that. So it's great to have someone like you on here who's a prime example who've actually, achieved that. You've got your family's flourishing, you're happy, fun family, you get to work and you get to, raise your family. And I think that's really important. And again, back to balance. I always believe balance is what's important to you, like how you manage your time. I don't feel like there's a perfect model of, mummy and I do it this way and I do it this way. It's what works for you and your family. And clearly, that's what you're kind of showing me as well, which is brilliant. So on your journey, what would you say would you find the most challenging?
Most challenging for what? I'm sorry.
For your entrepreneurial journey. So in terms of your e-commerce, or that could be with your mummy income. I feel like mummy income is more coming back of your e-commerce and you're using that to help, which is great. But I'm sure you face challenges in both roles. But what would you say was your most challenging?
I think the most challenging was accepting that it's a slow process. That everybody, especially now, we see all the social media that shows everybody's successes, right? It shows after they've made it or after they've had their breakthrough or their viral video or something like that, to where what we don't see is that iceberg underneath of all the work they did to get there. And so that comparison monster of, oh, look what he's doing, look what she's doing. And all these people have all this mass success. But what you didn't see was the 10 years that they worked up to that. Even though it wasn't on social, you still see all those things. And so really taking hold of the fact of, that's why I wrote the book, really, was because people see the success and they're like, oh, tell me about that. Now that you have $1 million business, like all of a sudden you have everybody's attention. And so I'm just such an advocate for, it takes time, but being consistent will get you there, will get you where you're going if you're taking those small, consistent steps. We had our home foreclosed on in 2012 when we were in the middle of some major financial difficulties, and my husband had a work injury, and coming back from that was really, you can't even dream of $1 million business when they just took your home away. And so you're just like, how are we going to do that? What we did was just be consistent, small, consistent steps every single week until we just built the next level. Then it was like, okay, now what? Small, consistent steps. So I can't say that enough, that trust the process, realize it's going to be a longer process than you realize, and prepare yourself for that. And it helps you with your expectations to say, hey, if I'm doing a 15-minute hustle every single day, I'm making progress. That's good. Instead of being like, well, look at all the things I didn't do. I mean, most people look at that undone list rather than what
they've done. Absolutely. Just like we like to kind of moan about what we haven't achieved and always look at what we have achieved, you know, it's that kind of predisposed mindset. But yeah, that's really helpful for you to share that. I think that's really important. And when we just talking about mindset, I just want to touch on that actually. So in terms with dealing with mindset, how do you kind of deal with that internal mindset war? You know, particularly when you came from, you know, the foreclosure, you're going through that, you're trying to raise your business, you're trying to, you know, do your family. So how do you kind of manage that, you know, mindset issues that you might have had at the time or may still have going forward for humans?
Well, I'm a God girl, so I believe in God and I have a strong faith. And so because of that, I just have the faith that I'm going to be provided for and taken care of, and God has never let me down there. So I believe and trust in Him to help me with that. So prayer is a lot of it, and also just that small focus of believing that I can, that I am capable, that it's possible. People really just need to know that it's possible. And if it's possible for me, and they believe that it's possible for them, even if it's not there yet, even if the gap is 1,000 miles wide from where you are to where you want to be, knowing that it's possible can help you move forward. And so knowing that it was possible for me to dig out of foreclosure and to make my own money from home and maybe eventually teach about it, knowing it was possible helped me work towards it, have that mindset that it was possible. And that faith really comes from God. And also I write down my goals every single day. It's a routine that I have every single day. I write my top 10 goals. And as they check off, I add another one, because that happens sometimes. You meet a goal, you reach it. Every day I put it in front of my face. This is what I want. And sometimes those goals drop off because they're no longer something I really want to prioritize, but the things that are on there. And this is what I strive for every single day, to look at it, to be accountable to it, and just say, this is possible for me and I'm going to get it.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And when was the point in your life when you realized that you had made it to 7 figures? Was it kind of like oh my gosh, I'm here now? Like, was it like almost you didn't realize you were there? Like, how was that feeling? What was that?
Oh, I realized it. I realized it. We had a party.
Oh, brilliant.
To just reach, I mean, you know, just having those revenue goals, it was such a big step from where we had come from and all the trials and tribulations that we went through with, you know, just the injuries and foreclosure and my dad getting cancer. Guess what, y'all? Life happens to all of us.
Absolutely.
We get sick. We lose jobs, we have accidents, parents die, kids get ill, or there's family drama, or there's all kinds of stuff. It happens to all of us, but we have to rise above that and realize it's common. Like, we don't have pity parties. We don't say, oh, poor me. Yes, we grieve. We want to grieve. You have those moments. But life keeps going. And so as life happens to me, it happens to you, it happens to everyone. And we just have to consider and keep moving towards the things we want, because life is not going to stop and wait for us. And so we have to take those moments and realize that it's not an excuse to quit. It's an excuse to go forward. Because something my dad said, my dad got cancer in 2015 and he died in 2017. But one of the things that he said as he was leaving us was really, you know, life is too short to wait. Do the things that you want to do now, because he was always waiting for retirement. Right. And I'm going to wait until I retire. I'm going to do this and do that. He's like, don't wait, because you never know. You're not guaranteed retirement. So live every day. Live every day the way that you want to live every single day, and don't always plan for the future, but live now, because he had so many things he didn't get to do. And so I really took that to heart, and I've been living more abundantly in the here and now, rather than always planning for what comes next. So celebrating everyday moments rather than some big achievement down the road. But have your party at your $1 million mark, because you deserve that. But then just living every day as something to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. I think that's really important. And my family say things like that, and they always say, to my grandma always used to say, she's passed, she used to say, oh, tomorrow is not promised. And it's very true. It's not promised. So you should live today. Doesn't mean that you don't get to plan. You can still plan. But, essentially, if you have that in your mind that tomorrow is not promised, then maybe you will live a little bit more livelier and fuller today, in today's moment, and be present in the moment. And I get that. I feel like, a lot of elders were like, oh, when I retire, I'm going to do this. Or, you got that mindset of, oh, I'll buy this outfit. Well, I'm going to save that for this one, event. And it's like, well, stop putting it all down. Or you've got this china, I'm not taking it out until this family member comes. It's like, no, live. You end up with, your dress has got dust on it.
It's funny that you said that, because that's something I did when my dad passed away. I realized that I had this beautiful collection of, it's not quite china, but it is like nicer wear and things like that. And I took it off of the display, and we use it every day now, because I thought, why not? Yeah. Why not? I don't want to just look at it. I want to use it every day and remind me that, like, every day is a day for the china.
Yeah. Why not?
I remember doing that.
Yeah, you're creating your own happiness and abundance within what you've got, and appreciating. I think that's so, so important. And so what kind of things are you passing on to your children? Are they interested in business?
Some of them are. I realized my youngest one, she's 10, and she is really interested. My middle child is very, she's the one graduating now, and she is interested, and she's very independent. Yeah. And so right now everyone's like, what college, what university, where are you going? And she's like, right now I'm just trying to figure out what the next step is for me. She doesn't have a plan, not because she doesn't want one, because she just doesn't know what she likes till she tries it. And so she's going to try a lot of things, and she's going to just kind of discover what she's really into and kind of pursue that. And I love that, because I told my
important. Yeah.
Number one lesson that I really try to teach them, besides being a kind human being and loving people, is that money's not always worth it. Like, you have to get up and go to work every single day anyway. So you might as well do something that you love doing, because you're not going to have a choice. You're going to have to earn a living somehow. And so, if they're happy delivering pizza, they're happy delivering pizza. If they're happy, working as a cashier somewhere, great. If they're happy at a 9 to 5, great. If they're happy with their business, I just want them to pursue something they love, because when you love to do something, it's natural to pursue excellence within that field. Absolutely. So I know they will be excellent if they do something they love, because they'll want to. Yeah. So that's really what I've been trying to teach them. You've been trying to teach them.
I think that's a very important lesson. I teach the same to my daughter and my nephews and stuff like that, which I think is really important. Go for what you love, do what you enjoy. I've come across so many people that have spent their time, have gone for one path, but then veered off for whatever reason, and then they regret it, or they, I think it's important to test out things, but live the life you love, so you can, love the life you live, essentially. That's the idea.
Sure. Absolutely.
And so I also would ask you, looking back at your journey now, is there anything you change, or do you do it all over again?
Yes. I would hire faster.
Okay.
So in the early days, I was bootstrapping. I didn't have a lot of money to start. So I was just slowly growing, and my business grew really slow because I needed some income from it. So I always have paid myself in the business. I don't work for free. No one should. Yeah. Even if you're in the startup phase, you should at least pay yourself a little bit of something to keep that reward. Yeah. But then I would have hired help faster. I didn't realize in the beginning of either one of my businesses that the more help you have, the more you can do. And so sometimes you just look at it as a financial transaction. You think, I don't think I can afford to hire someone. When really, first of all, there's tons of freelancers out there right now that you can hire per project, or we have one team member that only works 5 hours a week for us. Brilliant. But that 5 hours a week is great for her, but it's also great for our budget. And you can do more and do better when you hire people to do things. So hire faster, as far as the sooner in your business, it's exponential growth. That's what I found out, that once you hire someone, your growth can be exponential after that, because you have so much more time, and time is the rarest commodity. We all, whether you're president, whether you're Oprah, whether you're, I don't care who you are, 168 hours is all you get every single week. So how you spend that is really, really important. And the more you hire out for other people to do, the more you can do better at being the CEO of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very, very good advice. And that's something that I've heard before from someone else I also interviewed in the channel, again, about, scaling up and the idea of bringing in a team, because sometimes it's your baby as well. And sometimes you're like, well, no, I don't want anybody in my baby just yet. And we have to take care of my baby kind of thing,
Yes.
And then you bring them in and you're like, oh, actually, you're really good. If you've got the right kind of people in your team, you are set to kind of, take off nicely, which is always good. Great. And in terms of your time management, because you mentioned time, do you have a method in terms of how you sort of manage your work and your life priorities at the moment? Are you kind of very good, big scheduler?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I am laughing at myself. I am a hot mess. But just to being honest here. Yeah. However, I have really learned to dial in my time. I am better at delegating now, which is really helpful. So I figure out what needs to be done for the week, and the mandatory things I need to do versus everyone else on the team and what they need to do, which requires management, but not much. I've hired well so that most people know what they're doing and how they're doing it. I don't micromanage at all, but I am not much of a long-term planner. I like the here and now because I've had so many things in my life happen that disrupt processes that I schedule in. I make room for disruptions because I know they're going to happen. And so the more I plan, the more I realize things get disrupted. So I just loosely plan things, but I manage time by my 15-minute hustles. Most of the time when it comes to time management, it's fear and procrastination that keep people from moving forward.
Yeah.
And so if you can handle fear, then you can handle anything. If you can figure out how to handle fear and, dream big, step small, there's a whole chapter and really literally step-by-step ways of being able to diagnose, deal with, and move on from fear within your business and how you make decisions that way. And because I do that, I gauge my time. Like, am I putting this off? Why am I putting this off? I'm putting it off because it's hard or because I don't understand or I don't know how.
Yeah.
And so I manage most of my tasks by, number one, doing the easiest things first because they don't take a lot of brain power. Take those off the list. Easy. When it comes to the hard stuff, schedule the hard things because those are the ones you were put off the most. So schedule the hard things, take care of the easy things first and the hard things. Schedule and be accountable. I have a couple of accountability partners that check in on me, ask me how my progress is doing, and I do the same for them. Yeah. And that really helps me to not put off the hard things.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'm kind of the flip side. I like to get some of the hard things out of the way. And the things I enjoy, find easy, I'll leave to end up like, oh, okay, it's all done now. Because I'm just it's the psychology of it. Yeah. Kind of how I used to do at university. I was like, I'll get the ones that I don't like out of the way and the fun ones, I'll be like, okay, we can do that now.
That's actually, I might try that out because that's more of like that reward system.
Yeah,
like,
that's the reward system, yeah.
If I do the hard things, then I get to do the easy things. Like,
that's how I bribe myself to get things done. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great method. I might give that a try just to say, okay, if I do these hard things, then I can get to the easy stuff. So I'm gonna give that a try and see if I through
even faster. You'd be like, hey.
True.
Which is cool. All right, we'll get into wrap up stage. I just wanted to find out some advice you've been given because I always like asking. So, what would you say is kind of the worst advice you've been given, like when you was heading into the e-commerce world? Maybe best or worst. You might not have the worst if you've got the best.
I was gonna say, wow, I'm not sure. I have to think about the worst advice I was given, but I think some of the best advice I was given was to do more upfront work rather than trying to put out fires later. Yeah. So a lot of people, they rush into something, they do it really quickly, and then later on they kind of solve all the little problems and mishaps. But I've realized that a stitch in time really saves 9. Yeah. If you are intentional about setting yourself up for success in the beginning, then you don't have to undo a lot of the common mistakes in the future. So learning and doing the hard work up front. A lot of people, with Amazon, I teach a very unique business model that requires a little bit more upfront work. And everyone's like, oh, this is a lot of work up front and this and this. And I said, yeah, but the benefits are such a momentum once you get to the sales part and get able to sell your products in a very quick way and without competition. It's worth the work up front in order to get to that point. Where some people want to rush in, they make a quick dollar and then it fizzles out really quickly and they have to start all over. So the upfront work is worth it if you want long-term sustainability.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I was talking to a client about that the other day, actually. I just said, some of the work that I was saying to her to do is, but it's like you're what I call front loading. I said, you're front loading so that actually by the time you get to where you need to be, you'll be reaping the rewards. Everything already will be set and done. So, it's just like, it's almost like you're working backwards, but it makes sense. So I completely get you on that. Yeah. Well, I think you covered all the bits that I always like to go cover within these interviews. But I wanted to find out if there's anything you want to share with us. So where can they get your book? Where can we find out more information about you?
The book, Dream Big, Step Small, is on Amazon. It's on Audible if you prefer to listen. And you can get on both platforms. It's also an ebook and hard or paperback. If you're a book holder like me, I love to hold and touch them. It just gives me a purpose. So that's Dream Big, Step Small. You can also listen to the Amazon Files podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can find all information on mommyincome.com. So thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure.
It's been great to have you. Do check out Mommy Income. Do check out her books. It's been wonderful to have you. Thank you. And stay tuned and do come back in for 9 to 5 Work Rebels. We'll be having more wonderful guests sharing their journeys with us soon. All right. See you soon.
Hi 9 to 5 Work Rebels. If you're feeling stuck or looking for a way out of your 9 to 5, then you're going to want to check out my online course, How to Be a Successful Consultant, Earn More and Escape the 9 to 5. You can also check out my book, How to Become a Consultant, a guide to free yourself from the 9 to 5. If you're already in business or about to start your business, then you're going to want to check out my online DIY PR course, How to Get Media Coverage for Your Business in 30 Days. It will teach you how you can blow up your profile and profits while saving you thousands of pounds in agency fees in the process. So what are you waiting for? Get busy. The links to both the course and the book are in the description box.